Boker Tov, we are starting the 9th Perek of Megilat Esther, and it opens with now the day of the 13th of Adar, the day that was supposed to be the day that the enemies were supposed to go against us, and that edict, we said, was still out there. The first letter that was signed and sealed by Achashverosh was still out there, but the second letter said that the Jews could defend themselves. So let's see what happens. B'shneim asar chodesh, on the 12th month, Chodesh Adar, the month of Adar, on the 13th of that month, that the ruling of the king and the law of the king was now actualized to be done on this day. On the day that the Jewish enemies hoped to rule over the Jews, famous words, it became totally overturned, the total opposite. That the Jews ruled over them. The Jews ruled over their haters. Here in the Pasuk, we have two ways to describe people that don't like us. Oivei HaYehudim, enemies, and Hema Besonehem, and the haters. The difference between an oyev, an enemy, and a hater is that an enemy, an oyev, he wants to physically do some harm to us. That's an oyev, and he's willing to physically do harm. Soneh, someone that hates, is someone that hates in his heart, but he's not necessarily going to do something about it. And he's happy when the Jews go down. So he hates, but he's not going to necessarily do something about it. But an oyev is someone that actually is going to do something. So he says like this. That's why the Pasuk says, Asher sibiru oivei Yehudim lishlot bahem. The oivei Yehudim, the ones that wanted to do against us physically harm, they were hoping for that day. They couldn't wait for that day to do that harm. Someone that's a soneh, someone that hates in his heart and he's not going to do anything. Even if that day came, he wasn't going to do anything. He just hated the Jews and he was happy that the Jews go down. But the oivim were looking towards that. But now, v'nahafochu, the change came that we ruled over them. We even ruled over sonehem. We even ruled over those that have the hatred in their heart. We were over them. Now, what does that mean? They had no more hatred in their heart? I'm not sure. But it seems like we were even had a dominion over those, even over those haters. Here he says, Hema, the Gaon of Vilna, Hema besonehem. The word Hema is the gematria 48. And we know in the word, in gematrias, you could be one off. So 48 is like 49. And so to speak, we were in the 49th level of being destroyed, about to be destroyed, and we came now to the 49th level of dominion over our enemies and over our haters. The Jews gathered in their city. We'll do the chocolate after. The Jews gathered in their city, in all the countries of Achashverosh, the Jews gathered in the cities and waiting for those that wanted to do bad, because they were ready to defend themselves. And people did not stand in front of the Jews. They didn't come towards the Jews to fight them. Because a level of pachad, of scared, fell over all the nations. And all the ministers and the different types of levels of ministers, and those that did the work for the king, Asher Lamelech, that's for the king, they were giving kavod to the Jews. Because the fear of Mordechai was above them. So here the Gaon of Vilna points out, why is it that for all the countries it says nafal pachdam alehem, fell the Jewish fear fell upon them, and here for the ministers the fear of Mordechai was upon them. He says that now Mordechai was raised to a very high level, and now the ministers could recognize, wow, this guy's lifted up to a very high level among the other ministers. He's now second in command. So there's a great fear from the ministers for Mordechai. But the other the nations that were living in all the countries, they didn't feel that connection to Mordechai, but they heard about the Jews. Now that the Jews are on top, so they felt a fear from the Jews. Last pasuk, Gadol Mordechai b'Beit HaMelech, because Mordechai was raised up in the house of the king. V'sham'o olech v'chol medinot, and his word went out to all the countries. Ki ha'ish Mordechai holech v'gadol, because the man Mordechai was going and getting greater. And here he says that a tzaddik, it brings from the Gemara in Yerushalmi, a tzaddik starts off like a light in the morning. It starts off small and then it gets bigger. So too a tzaddik, slowly as he grows, it's a little bit greater until the light shines. So too Mordechai was holech v'gadol, getting greater and greater in levels in Achashverosh's kingdom and in the eyes of Bnei Israel and in the eyes of the world. We'll continue to see that there were some people that came to fight us and their results. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen. Rabbi Chananya, Barak Hashem Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu, לזכות את ישראל לפי חכי בעל המתרמצו שנאמר לנו חפץ מן צדקו, יגדיל תורה וידיר.